Hey everyone, and welcome back to Tech Station, the podcast where we uncover the latest topics and trends in tech. I'm Valentina Alto, technical architect at Microsoft, and today I'm with Arianna Riccardi. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Yeah, thank you, Vale. My name is Arianna. I am part of Microsoft Western Europe organization, and I cover the go-to-market for Microsoft 365 Copilot.
Amazing. Thanks a lot for being here. So, today we are going to cover the exciting world of M365 Copilots and all its sidekick you didn't know you needed. So, before jumping into the core topic, I'd like to flesh out a bit more this buzzword Copilot that we learn to associate with M365 Copilot. However, it's a broader concept that deserves its own stage. What do you think?
Yeah, absolutely. I think you should go ahead with this description.
Okay, so we can see a copilot as a new category of software that has been introduced by the advent of large foundation models. In fact, those generative AI models are amazing. They can understand and generate text, code, now even images, music, and videos. However, the real value is unlocked when we embed them into processes and applications that are relevant for us and for our businesses. And the way we do that is typically via a copilot. So a copilot can be seen as an AI assistant that helps users trying to accomplish a complex task, and that is featured by the following components. It has a conversational user interface, it is powered by a large foundation model, and it has a scope, meaning that it is grounded on your own data and provided with tools or plugins that you select in order for it to interact with the surrounding environment and third-party system. Now, over the last 2 years, Microsoft has embedded large foundation models basically in every application. We have Copilot for GitHub, Copilot for Power Apps, Copilot for Azure, etc. And of course, it has embedded Copilot into the M365 suite.
Yeah. Vale, I couldn't have explained this better than you. So thank you
You.
for the great introduction. That's super clear and perfect. I would like to introduce now the concept of Microsoft 365 Copilot as I see it in my everyday life. So if you allow me for this stupid example, but I would think about as Copilot as a super intelligent assistant that is always more prepared than me. Reading all the emails I received overnight, is always ready to answer what I've got in my inbox, is always ready to get my most important information at the fingertip for preparing a presentation or for getting ready for a customer meeting. So that's how I see Copilot in my everyday life, and that's how I think about it when I work with it.
Okay, I love this definition. And can you make us a concrete example on a daily activity that you would ask Copilot to do for you?
Yeah, absolutely. So, first and foremost, I'm working for the Western Europe organization, which means that I work for 10 different countries. And even if I'm based in Italy, I tend to travel a lot. So, a very simple example that I find myself using a lot in my everyday job is whenever I'm out for a business trip. And as an example, I cannot join a meeting on Teams simply because I'm on a plane at that time. I can simply ask Copilot to follow that meeting for me. And then Copilot can be there, take notes for myself, and then list the key next steps that I should take, maybe the next call to action for myself out of that meeting. That's an example. But
Wow.
another example could be I'm just back from my trip and I have a huge backlog of emails that creates me so much anxiety when I need to start working again after the trip. Instead, I can just ask Copilot, can you please give me a summary of the most important emails I received from my manager during the days I was traveling, or the key messages I received on this specific topic. Let's say that I have an urgent project to be finalized by this week. I can ask Copilot to maybe summarize everything that I need to know on that project today. So that's just a couple of examples of how I see and I use Copilot.
That sounds great. Now, I have a curiosity. Is Copilot also able to prioritize my agenda and the activities that I should do right now in terms of urgency and prioritization?
Yeah, absolutely. So, by the way, I think this is something interesting to mention. We have recently announced an amount of interesting features that are coming soon or are already available as part of Microsoft 365 Copilot. On September 16th, we had an event that is Copilot Wave 2. And in this Copilot Wave 2 event, we had our leaders our CEO, Satya Nadella, presenting some of the most exciting features coming soon to Copilot. And one of those is actually the prioritization of my inbox in Outlook, which will be a feature that will allow me to say, hey, Copilot, can you please prioritize all the emails that I receive from Valentina, for example? Or, that's the smartest thing, Copilot can understand that he should prioritize the emails coming out from my manager, because looking into Microsoft Graph in the background can understand my organization and then knows that, yeah, my manager sent me an important email this week. So that's an example. It's something that is coming soon, and I think it's great.
Wow, that sounds amazing. So you mentioned, I think, a very important component, which is Microsoft Graph. So Microsoft Graph basically is that place where all our data coming from different M365 applications are sitting. And
Yes.
Copilot is grounded on this Microsoft Graph. So basically, whenever I interact with any Copilot within M365, I'm interacting with this data. Now, whenever we talk about data, there is a ring bell that says, okay, but what about security and privacy?
Yeah.
So can you explain to us a bit more about how the whole security conversation can be approached when it comes to M365 Copilot?
Yeah, so let me take a step back first, because I want to make a comment on the graph that you mentioned. That's true. It's a very important thing. And we should always keep this in mind, because it means that Copilot doesn't simply answer your questions in your native language. I can ask Copilot a question in Italian because I'm Italian, and Copilot will answer to me in Italian. Not only that, but Copilot can actually give me the latest and greatest information from my documents, from my emails, from my messages, from the meetings I've taken. Everything is stored in the Microsoft Graph. Everything is available to Copilot. And as much as I can access those contents, Copilot can and give me those feedbacks. So it means that the feedbacks that Copilot gives me will be grounded in my information. And it means that they will have added value in terms of contents and context for my daily work. Not only that, because Copilot can also access web information. So we can also get information from the web that will enrich even further those answers. So that's the first thing to keep in mind. Second thing is about security, for sure. So security is a top of mind for Microsoft. You definitely know this. We talk about security so much. So in this case, Microsoft 365 Copilot has, let's say, a baseline to work, which is the M365 or the Office 365 suites. So basically, Copilot is inheriting all the security features from M365 suite. And normally, the higher the security features, the higher the blockers. So as an example, let's say that you send me a document that is protected. And I ask Copilot to create a summary of that document in Word. Then the Word document will be automatically labeled as a protected document, because the summary that Copilot generated is coming from a document that was previously protected. So Copilot is inheriting that privacy label in the document that is the final output, right? So this is an example of what I mean by inheriting the security labeling. But another thing that we should keep in mind is that using Copilot is safe by design, because Microsoft has infused security, let's say, features and principles in it. And most importantly, those information that I share with Copilot are not used to train the underlying LLM models, which makes it even safer when I use Copilot sharing sensitive data that I might have because I'm working with Copilot, so my company data.
So I shouldn't be sharing my company data with ChatGPT, right?
Well, that could be the outcome of this. Yes, that could be an example.
Okay. Okay. So at least with Copilot, I am sure that first of all, the LLM is not being trained with my personal information. And second of all, that I have security by design infused and embedded within the application itself. So it basically comes out to the data governance that I'm applying to the underneath data when it comes to labeling and security.
Exactly. So the governance that you are doing as a company when adopting Copilot is extremely important, not only as a company, but in general as a user. So make sure that whenever you have created a document that contains private information that shouldn't be shared outside of the company, or maybe shouldn't be shared with anybody else than the person you're sharing that document with, make sure that you're applying the right labeling policy to that document, because it means that Copilot will understand that that labeling policy and won't grant access to anybody else. Keep in mind that Copilot returns to you results based on the documents where you have at least the view permission. So if you have view permission to a document, Copilot can return answers to you that are based on that document. In some cases, mistakes happen. So people don't apply the right labeling policies, and then you can get access to a document that Copilot returns to you simply because that person originally didn't put the right label. So that's very important. And it's very important that people keep this in mind when using Copilot, not only because Copilot, not because Copilot is not safe, but because Copilot can, let's say, undercover some security gaps in your company. So making sure that everybody is aware, that everybody takes the right steps in using labeling policies, for example, it's extremely important. And in general, for the company, having the right governance in place, it's game changer.
So the old but gold rule, the garbage in and garbage out, still apply in the case of Copilot.
Exactly.
Okay, cool. So I have one last question for you, Ari. I know that you already mentioned a great example of how you are using Copilot in your daily life. I would like to ask you, is there one thing that Copilot changed for you and that changed, let's say, the way you approach a specific task or a specific part of your daily activities?
Well, this is a tough question. So there are many, I would say. A simple example in my daily productivity is I had to change the way I work, in a sense that instead of starting from scratch with Copilot, I start from a draft. Actually, sometimes I start from a solid draft. Let me explain you what I mean. Being go-to-market manager, I tend to do many presentations. So sometimes I am just lacking of inspiration. So I just ask Copilot, instead of putting myself in front of a blank page and start writing something, if I don't feel inspired enough, I can ask Copilot to create that inspiration for me. So Copilot can start the document on my behalf. By the way, talking about PowerPoint, we have announced great new features in PowerPoint that are available today. So I suggest all the people that have access to Copilot in Microsoft 365 apps to try PowerPoint once again, because now it's incredible. But let's pretend that I'm creating a PowerPoint deck. I can ask Copilot to start a solid draft for me, and that might be just some edits from my side. So the biggest change for me is really this: the change in mindset, first of all, instead of starting from scratch, starting from Copilot, and then start elaborating from what Copilot created for me. That in some cases can be really revolutionary.
Well, and that's extremely interesting also because we often fear that artificial intelligence is making us less creative, right? But with these tips, it's like we are not being less creative, but we are just being creative in a different way. Like we invest our brain cells in doing something collateral to writing the first draft or something, but we are still being creative in doing something different. So we are changing the way we are being creative, right?
Absolutely. And actually, you will be surprised to know that the latest research that have been made, not only on Copilot, but in general on AI applications to productivity, show that the area with the highest impact of AI is really the creativity area, because Copilot can actually not replace our creativity, but actually supercharge our creativity. And that's how I want to see it. It's really something that can help me.
Yeah, 100% agree. So, Ari, thanks a lot for being here and for having shared all your insights about Copilot. I'm really looking forward to seeing the newest release from Wave 2. Dear listeners, that was the end of the episode. So, thanks for tuning in and see you next time. Bye bye.